Okay, so for those who have been watching my story, this was done in a Q&A.
So here I am out with my wife down the spit over at Iona Beach.
What I'm talking about is over here. So Iona has a spit. This is a park. This is a public park, and it's for the public. You can walk out there. It's 5 kilometers. We were somewhere in the middle, so that's where the story takes place.
And we're walking down the spit. You know what? For those who don't know, here in Vancouver, we have a spit, and it goes out. It's underneath the. It's in the Georgia Strait, but the airlines, the planes will fly over the.
This is the airport right here.
Spit. So me and my wife are coming back, going onto the mainland, walking down the spit, and a plane flies over us. And here I am thinking about this stuff, about the aliens, all this. I could feel something was in the sky, even right there. And I could feel this presence. And then this plane goes over us. Well, then I hear the plane and it leaves. Then this distortion occurs in the sky, and it goes. So the plane goes. I'll make these noises. Sorry for the noise making. Makes a big noise, and then all of a sudden it leaves, and then I hear. And it sounds like a tornado whipped up, and all of a sudden I can hear the plane again. There was no plane in the sky, and it sounded like someone had bent and distorted space. So so I could hear the sound that had just occurred was occurring again, and yet it was distorted by this wind. And it was some kind of gravity effect or something. I couldn't even figure it out. It was like, and it was louder than it had ever been before. I got my wife. I said, "Duck, what's going on, Duck?" And I get her and I grab her and hold her down. And she's like, "What is going on?" And I'm like, "Did you hear that? That's insane. What's that noise?" I'm looking up, and she's like, "What noise?" I'm like, "You didn't just hear that?" And at first I thought it was her. Right? It was like, oh my God, she's so unperceptive. Like, how could she not hear that? You didn't hear the plane and then hear the plane later and there was no plane in the sky? And she's like, no. And I'm like, you didn't hear the plane that was louder and making this wind noise, whipping around? No, I didn't hear that. And then I learned at a CE5 that people can be side by side. One person can see something and the other person cannot. And then I realized that.
Okay, that's the bottom line with that. So Jeff Selver isn't crazy. So in 2018 at Sea Island, in the exact same spot, my older brother, 63, and I, 48, were walking back from the end of the outpipe at Iona Park, Friday, November 9th, from 2 p.m. at about the 2-kilometer mark. The guy's in the exact same spot. Walking towards the road, we both heard a motorized sound flying toward us from behind. We both said, "Plane coming again," but the noise was quite lower. For me, I said louder. And as it was just above us, we both looked up and behind. We saw nothing, but now the energy flow was evident. Not a wind or something, but definitely hear a whooshing sound, whooshing, wailing sound that hovers above us. That's what happened to me. Definitely rotating clockwise for 2 to 3 minutes. I was looking, concentrating on seeing something that obviously sounds like it was fairly large, rotating, hovering 20 feet above us. No gusts. That's what happened with me. I didn't feel any wind, no nothing. No gust, no temperature change, no ripples in the air, but an energy definitely from above. Then it left. We could hear it leave straight in front of us. You could hear it still 500 meters away. We were in awe. Okay, so I've been wanting to say that for a long time. I'm not crazy. You think you're crazy. You sound, you're aware all the stuff coming out of your mouth sounds totally insane. But like this happened and this is happening to me. And also, so the synchronicity, that day it happened to me, I was the one feeling them. And the fascinating thing for me here is, as I rip apart all this bigger picture, this is a consistent type of communication. I've had it more than once. I had it that day that I'm telling the story there, but I also work on the other side of the airport. The flights come in from both sides, depending on the day. And on this side, I had the exact same experience. I've had it twice because I work over here. And so you can hear the airlines go over, and I'll show up at 6 a.m. to my job, and then I'll hear the whipping sound, and I'm above, and every time it's personal to me. So it's, I'm thinking about something, I'm interacting, I'm thinking about either the aliens, I'm thinking about something in my personal life. And the one I'm talking about in the video, I'm thinking about them and I'm saying, I think I can feel them. I think it's them. And then she gives me evidence, which for me is a synchronicity. Okay, so what's weird here is that they're consistently, as a paranormal entity, showing themselves exactly the same way to different people in the same spot. But that's like, that's just really weird for me, that depending on where you are in the physical environment, they're demonstrating themselves in a different, in a consistent way in that physical environment. And that's what I find really fascinating and very, very interesting here. They're using the airport, they're using something to do with, anyway, I also call it distortion of time, because the sound, the plane went over and then it was a repeat of the sound, like as if they just took the sound out of the air that had just occurred and they replayed it back. I can't even wrap my head around it. It was, and it's louder than it was last time. It's just, I don't even understand exactly what's going on here, and it's fascinating as hell. And I was very happy to see that someone else had experienced that, that was in the database. So that's really, really good. So I've been wanting to do that one for a long time, to mention that.
Yeah, Jeff, I was just going to say,
yeah,
Linda Moulton Howard's covered the strange sounds, the booms from the air, etc.
right.
And she's covered this since, I believe it was first became popular in 2012. But it seems to be, for a lot of the witnesses, they seem to be very targeted, focused. It seems to be a focused noise. So we can have people in one room who hear the noise, and an incredible noise, crashing noise, loud boom or whatever. They run out into the other room and they say, "What was that?" And the family say, "What are you talking about?" And this is again the focused sound that some people can hear but others can't.
Oh, fascinating. Well, that's great. It's great because I've experienced it personally, and then was the butt end of someone else not hearing it, and you sound like a total nut job. But not just that, but fascinating, consciousness to consciousness. Again, the individuation. Interesting stuff here. So tied to this, there's actually a really fascinating and well-documented sighting on the ufobc site around the actual airport. So 4 workers witnessed a UFO. This is the details. A ground crew worker witnessed a metallic, highly reflective ball-bearing shaped object. The worker noticed the air traffic on the busy runway stopped during the sighting and resumed sometime afterwards. So it was over here. All that detail is actually in the report, and it landed over here. And then the next day, there were workers out there, Chevy Safari vans with tinted windows, 3 YVR trucks, and and people in suits were walking out in the area. So that's really fascinating. Yeah, this is it here. So it's actually really detailed. The ufobc investigated it, and they went and tried to call the control tower, and no one would confirm the event actually happened. So yeah, fascinating, totally though. So definitely UFO activity occurs out in the Iona area there. So my gray alien communicates to me through paranormal activity, which is why I'm so heavily focused today on the paranormal. I spoke on my book launch on 2021, the video was The Rising, the Alien Plan to Build an Enlightened City on Planet Earth. It was my book launch video. And I wrote there, the elder came to me in paranormal form using angel hair twice. So I've never talked about this too much. Again, I'm dealing at this point, I'm comfortable with them, and that whole belief system had raised. I knew that these orbs were them, and I said, okay, this is you. I actually was very specific. I'm having this alien contact. I'm seeing orbs, it's you, and I know it's you. And then they would do things to confirm that. So I'm raising my belief level, and then all of a sudden it gets more intense. The paranormal activity in my life got intense, and there's nothing to do. It's personal to consciousness to consciousness. She doesn't want to be filmed. It's not evidence for her. They don't want that. They don't want that that ego drive, if you will, to show, hey, look, everybody, I got cool videos of a ghost on my YouTube channel. They don't want that. They don't want the they don't want to be used, almost, is what it's like. And so it becomes personal consciousness to consciousness. So the angel hair stuff was all personal. So for example, I'm sitting on my couch, and then I'm thinking about them, and all of a sudden, blah, this stuff flies by my window. It is, I didn't even know angel hair at the time when it happened. It's I have a Wikipedia thing here on it, and they call it, and I thought this was a neat description, cobweb or jelly. And that's exactly what this was. It's like a mucus, almost like a jelly, but it's thin, and when it stretches out, it's thin, cobweb-like, yet it has a mucusy jello kind of effect to it. and when I saw it, it's massive. It's like a whole thing that's probably five or more feet long, big, and it flew by my window, and I'm like, what is that? As I'm staring at it, and then I'm like, that's got to be them, because I don't know what the hell that is, and then I feel the telepathy right afterwards. Okay, so that's one. Number two, when I'm saying, okay, I've confirmed that I think these things are you, because I'm having these thoughts at that specific time in a paranormal fashion. You're able to read those thoughts. So one day I'm sitting on the back edge of my building, and I'm saying, I actually said to her, I love when you show yourself to me, because I think that's so fun. And then right away, instantaneously after the thought, right below the deck, because I live on an apartment complex, right below the deck, this huge, angel hair mess, and it spreads out. It's massive. It must have been anywhere between 8 feet big. It could have been, 6 or 7 feet from me. And it spreads out, it expands in the sky. And as it stretches out, it disappears. So it thins out, and then it's gone. And I'm at the moment, I know it's them, and I just accept it. I'm like, yeah, I get all excited. And I was actually, I get really excited by those kind of interactions. And what's fascinating to me is that in the UFO lore, angel hair seems to be consistent with, people think it's with UFO sightings. But the actual reports in the ufobc had nothing to do with UFO sightings. They were just paranormal events. And that's what it is for me. They're just paranormal events. And for me, I think the aliens are in this other, astral world, wherever they are, and they're able to manipulate very easily, or create, if you will, angel hair. And I've seen her be angel hair in my apartment as well, floating angel hair. And that's what you got here. Someone has a report, went out to paddleboarding with a friend and saw a strange cobweb-like substance. It was covering the paddle, sticking to my hands, and it was floating in the air in strange formations that were almost stiff, floating everywhere. And so he even says he looked back 300 meters in every direction. It was hard to paddle without it getting stuck all over me. So here's a stretchy cotton-like stuff, balled up and rubbed when he was in his fingers. Fascinating as hell. And we get another one here too. We noticed that the air was filled with long strings of something white drifting down from the sky. We tried to catch them, but there was nothing there. And that's what happened to me. In one case, it happened in my house, and then I couldn't, it was stuck to me. And as I pulled away, it disappeared. And then I couldn't, it was attached to a lamp, and the lamp was, all of a sudden, there was no spider web on the lamp, and it was just gone. And so in both cases, those are communications, and I'm experiencing telepathy either afterwards, or she's confirming something that I'm thinking in a paranormal fashion. Ian, when it comes to angel hair, so the theory goes that this stuff happens with UFO crafts. The people, as if a UFO craft lands and then there's angel hair. But here I am saying that it's kind of, for me, I don't know that. I associate it with the paranormal. So what's your take on that? Have you heard of this, like kind of it being more paranormal versus being associated with a physical object?
Here's the thing. It's also very much associated in folklore, and also with the, let's say, visions of the Virgin Mary. That has also been reported, that this mysterious angel hair material has been found in those visitation events as well. So I know it was popularized when I first started reading a lot of those early, let's say, 1960s pulp paperback books that I used to buy from the United States. It was featured in a lot of those early sightings. And I think, again, we're looking at, let's say, the folkloric aspect of the paranormal. But there is a UFO. I was just online at the moment looking through a UFO contactee, an abductee who contacted me about 6 or 7 years ago. And I think she had actually got some of this that had actually fallen in her garden. But she had other experiences as well. Lots of poltergeist activity, shadow people, UFO activity, lots and lots of other strange things. So yes, it is paranormal, but not exclusive to UFOs.
Right. That's what, and I just found that really fascinating, because the whole science behind it, they were trying to create a science that is generated somehow as an after effect of the UFO, but that doesn't seem to be the case for me. It seems to be generated as my whole thing is that if you're in that other realm, then that's something that must be easy for them to make, as manipulate matter kind of thing, so they can make it as out of will, right?
Exactly. And it's got the comparisons as well with the ectoplasm that we see in the old seances and the spiritualist circles in the going back to the 1900s.
Well, that's a fascinating comparison I never thought of. And you're talking about, because I mentioned this jelly. That's what it's got a jelly fluid type substance, and then when it can string out. So that would be very plasma, actually. A very interesting connection, man. Thank you. That's a very neat one. Yeah. Okay, so again, talking about observation, 2017 in Vancouver, I looked up towards the northeast sky and saw what I thought was a bright planet or star, except it was moving diagonally downwards and to the south. I then thought it must be a bright satellite or maybe the International Space Station. Then the object just stopped. It moved up and down and side to side slightly. Okay, the only thing I'm just trying to say here about my fascination with this one is, so it's the jokes, you're right, the kind of comedy that the elder plays with me. And she's playing with my perception, and I just find this stuff hilarious. Okay, I'm consistently seeing them. It's at a period where I'm seeing them pretty rapidly, pretty consistently. And every time I would go out to a deck or my balcony, I would see an orb, and it would be tied with something I'm writing, something I'm doing. Anyway, one day I go out, and there's this bright white object moving through the sky, and I'm like, oh my God, I think it's them. I get excited. But then usually they display something abnormal to make me, to confirm for me that this was not that this was them, and nothing happens. And I'm like, oh, could this be the ISS, the International Space Station? And I'm sitting there staring at it. And then I pull out a sky view and I look at it, and it turns out, yeah, it was the International Space Station. The way it curved, and it kind of curved and keeps going. I thought, oh, okay, I got fooled. I was really excited. I wanted it to be them. Whatever. The next night I come out, exactly the same curvature, exactly the same spot, the exact same way, the exact same timing. I came out the same time of the night. I came out and I look up the sky at the exact same curvature. I can't even tell you. It comes out the exact same way, except it's a little bit light, a little bit brighter, a little bit whiter, a little bit larger. And I'm like, okay, that's got to be the International Space Station. Of course, I'm not going to get fooled again this time. And then I pull out Skyview, and there's no International Space Station. And I'm like, what? That's got to be them. And of course, what happens? There's a set of clouds, and it goes underneath the clouds. It's the International Space Station underneath the clouds. So I see her just joking around, right? She's playing around. I get fooled one night thinking it's them, and then the next night it is them, but then I don't think it's them, and then they demonstrate something with which shows it's them. So right, because it was so close. If that was an actual craft, that was 300 feet in the air at least. These are low clouds, and so for me also, observation effect. She knew exactly how to proceed to show herself in a way to replicate what I saw yesterday. So that's like the observation effect. They're very aware of how they're being perceived. Something about the paranormal where they can understand how they're going to be seen through your eyes. And I just found that hilarious, funny, but also fascinating, because then it's playing on perception, and it's kind of a joke for them, right? Yeah, I needed to throw that one in there.